Okay, so playing Elshad Bekanoglu. All right, I'm going to take a guess at the flag that I will see for this opponent. I'm going to guess Romania? Ah, no flag. Okay. So we don't know. Okay, well, in any event, he plays in English, which is an opening that I've been saying forever that I should, learn what to do against. And my general strategy against the English has always been to pretend like they played d4 and just hope that it transposes. But yeah, normally that if they wanted to play d4, they would have played d4. So yeah, I need to kind of learn. So maybe this will be a good opportunity for that. Okay, I actually so this is, are we maybe shaping up for like a Botvinnik English? I don't know a whole lot about it. I know what it is. Okay, so I have to think about, is e5 something that I'm concerned about? I mean, it seems like probably I should be. I think I'll play d6 just to keep an eye out for that. And I don't know, I mean, I probably at some point will either want to play e5 or c5 just to make sure that I have some Okay, well now we have transposed into a King's Indian. So I'm quite happy. So this is now just a mainline King's Indian. Normally I would castle instead of playing d6 on move 4, but d6 is actually the or on move 3, I suppose. No, move 4. But d6 is actually a more common move to prevent e5. I don't mind facing e5, so I just castle. But yeah, now I'm very comfortable, very comfortable at this position many times with both colors. So next up, I'll be, if nothing drastic changes, I'll be playing e5. Actually, no, I played, yeah, I play e5. Right. I said I was comfortable, and then I'm forgetting my theory. You can play knight c6 right away. Or so I've been told. But e5 first is more common. So if you're not familiar with this, there's a common little trick. Okay, so he plays the Petrosian, right? I believe that's what it's called. And then a5 is the move. Okay, so let me backtrack a bit. So it may look like after e5 that this pawn is not well enough supported. Like a queen trade. And then white could win the pawn here. But since that knight's undefended, black has a tactical response. Knight takes e4. And then the knight's captured, and then we regain the knight on e5. So it's a common thing in the King's Indian. And this move a5 is designed to keep a knight secure on c5. So up next, I'll be putting my knight on c5. If you don't put the pawn on a5 first, then white might play b4 and keep you from getting a nice knight there. So from c5, my knight is going to put pressure on e4, and it's just a good piece. And hopefully I can kind of keep the queen side locked down. So I think normally white would castle here. Bishop e3 might also be playable, I'm not sure. Bishop e3, I'm probably playing knight g4, though. I don't know what else white could really consider. Sometimes in the King's Indian, white likes to sort of turn the tables and push on the king side himself, but castles seems very standard. I mean, this, we have to still be in, thousands and thousands of master games. Queen c2 could be some idea, just anticipating some pressure coming on the e4 pawn. We're going to need, or white's going to need some extra defense there. So queen c2 would make a lot of sense. Although, I guess maybe white has to think about, am I walking into knight b4? So white could try to make some productive move first. and wait for me to declare, is my knight going to be on b4 or c5? So maybe like bishop g5. White could maybe try to trade off these bishops, but I don't think that bothers me too much. So I don't think I have to really react if he plays something like... I mean, bishop e3 could again be met with knight g4 probably, but he could try to do this and trade off the bishop, but I don't think that's even bad for me strategically. I wonder if this guy's profile says where he's from. No, it doesn't say nothing. What's a shame. Maybe Turkish. Maybe that's what this is. I could buy Turkish. I like to know, who I'm dealing with. So I've got a nice lead on the clock. I'm comfortable with this position. The computer will probably give white a decent advantage, but what is the computer now? Okay, so bishop e3 was played. I believe knight g4 is usually what you want to play if you can do so when they play bishop e3. I'm trying to remember though, because I've definitely had this position before, and I think I've also just played knight c5. Knight c5, I'm still not losing a pawn, so like this exchange and try to win the pawn here, I think it happens again that knight takes e4 regains the pawn because this knight's undefended on e5. So knight c5 is a candidate, knight g4 is a candidate. After knight g4, I'm threatening to win the bishop pair. He could play bishop g5, which is then striking at my queen. Yeah, and I don't really want to play f6. So yeah, I think maybe actually knight c5 is what I'm supposed to do. And he'll probably play queen c2. Yeah, I think knight c5 is right. And, okay, we can... I was about to pre-move that, but... Yeah, so no winning a pawn here. I think actually knight takes c5 would be a mistake from white, because you're kind of opening up this bishop. I mean, I might even argue that bishop takes c5 is a inaccuracy, because black has the bishop pair, and I'm not sure what white really has to show for it. I think maybe in the long run, putting the knight on d6 would make a lot of sense. That looks like a nice square for a knight. This still isn't working. I don't have to react to that. Just trying to decide, do I want to do this right away, or do I want to try to do something else? My light squared bishop doesn't really have an obvious role. I could also just try to get my knight to f4. Yeah, like knight h5. I could even play f5 one day, knight f4. That seems relatively promising. d6 is going to be a tender point. He probably is going to put a rook here and try to push d6. Yeah, I mean, putting the knight on d6 looks really nice, too. It's a little less aggressive, but it also gives white a little bit less play, because he's not going to be able to play on the d file so easily. If I play knight h5, knight f4, it's a bit more aggressive, but it's allowing white some play. Also, the f5 plan might not be such a good one because of knight g5, knight e6 ideas. I mean, I could just take the knight, and I probably will win the e-pawn later. I think I want my knight on d6, and I can still play for f5 later on. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this little reroute maneuver. I think I can basically just have a slightly better position and not have to make it double-edged. You know, I think if I just put the knight on d6, maybe put my king on h8, I can play f5 later and still sort of get my kingside play without giving up anything to white, I think. That's what I'm going to claim anyway. I mean, it's sort of weird to say as a King's Indian player, but I actually do prefer, like, slower strategic games. I guess I should say, like, if I feel like I can get even a small edge, I would rather make the game, you know, more strategic in nature rather than tactical. Rather than trying to just press the advantage. But I mean, white also has a problem with the light squared bishop. It's hard to get a lot of utility out of that piece. The dark squares are going to be weak, so like f5, if this pawn budges, then e4 is maybe opening some things up in some dangerous ways. Hopefully. So what's white going to do? I really don't know. He could try maybe doing some like h3, g4, you know, nonsense. Knight h5 would have somewhat stopped that, because then the knight would just land on f4, and probably he doesn't want that. Okay, he's coming in with the knight. Well, that sort of ties down my queen. He also might just recapture on d6, but I should be fine with that. I can still play on the king side, and white is not getting his normal queen side play. Now knight d6 also comes with a threat on the e4 pawn, so it you know, requires some response from white. He doesn't necessarily have to take my knight. He could defend e4. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just gonna do this anyway. It'd be really nice if I could get this bishop to h6 one day, especially if... Okay, so this exchange happens. I don't see any reason to take with the queen. I mean, I guess I could see some reason. Like if I want to play c6 later and try to chip away at the white center. It's some idea. But let's just make everything nice and neat. So yeah, it'd be really nice to get the bishop. Now that this structure seems very, you know, set in stone. Although I mean I can still play f5. No reason I can't do that. But it needs to be timed correctly. I don't particularly want to allow this knight to come into e6. So I mean, I could play h6 first. Seems a little weakening, especially if I'm going to be moving the f pawn too. But how exactly does white attack me? This definitely still feels like the desirable break, because if I can get this pawn to move, then bishop suddenly is looking pretty strong. So yeah, I mean, I think maybe this h6 plan, h6. If I really wanted to be safe, I could even play king h7 and then f5. Yeah, I mean, this is really locking the queenside structure quite a bit. I mean, this pawn, I may have to watch over. I mean, since there's no dark square bishop around for white, I could even try to like sink a rook into b4. I'm just worried the rook will be somewhat out of play there. I think I should stick with my main plan of playing f5. For the moment, this rook is sort of going to be relegated to defending the pawn, but... What if I just play f5? I mean, is this such a big deal? I think it is, because then if I take, the knight is recapturing and the knight's really good on e4. I'm not getting this break-in like I wanted. So I think this h6 move first is a good idea. Still a little bit ahead on the clock. About halfway through our respective clocks. Okay. He's planning to meet f5 with f3. I think I will happily play f4. And we'll just keep, keep pressing on the king side. Wow, he took. So this is one of those positions where a lot of times I want to take with the bishop, but then like almost every time when I'm looking later, the computer's like, hey, you should take with the pawn. but it just looks scary. But I mean, I think the idea, you know, take with the pawn, I'm ready to sort of keep pressing and you know, I'm controlling the center some more. I'm moving the pawns towards the center. I do give up h5 to the bishop. But bishop h5, maybe queen h4 is a fork. Okay, I'm gonna step out of my comfort zone and do what I have been told is best. So I'm gonna try to understand why it's best now. I'm very surprised he took, because now this bishop, I think, is really gonna bother him. Yeah, he's anticipating that. So the rook can swing over. It's looking like that's on his to-do list. I mean, f4 is always looking sort of good. I was thinking about e4. I like them both. e4 sort of feels more right. It restricts these pieces. Gives the bishop access to d4, which could be a big square. I'm gonna go with that, I guess. I mean, I could also, like, activate these guys. e4 feels right. If he plays rook g3, the threat is queen takes h6. I'll probably play king h7. But then he's got to watch out for, like, bishop e5 and queen h4. g3. Maybe let's just get the king to h7. That way the bishop can move without dropping the pawn. I can try to use the g file, perhaps, at some point. Okay, the knight is coming. That much is clear. I was thinking maybe that knight would go to c2 to try to contest the square. Looks like the destination is f4, h4. Okay, let's put the rook on the g file. There could be some funny business. Knight h4, queen h4. Maybe. I'm not sure. GH, bishop here, check. Seems like that works. That's the wrong arrow. This arrow. I kind of don't want to commit the bishop to one of the, because if he goes to f4, I might want the bishop on e5 just to introduce some tactical ideas. I mean, I might go to e5 irrespective, because then possibly f4 is a threat. Possibly. A lot of times in the King's Indian, this bishop just chills on the starting square. But at some point, I need this rook. I could maybe consider like b6, rook a7, and bring the rook over to g7. Unfortunately, the pawn on b6 can be targeted. Rook b3. Okay, so he must want to put the knight on h4. Because that move sort of says, I see queen takes h4. Or he wants to move the f-pawn, but he doesn't want bishop d4 check to happen. I mean, maybe f3 is an annoying move. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I think I'll just put the bishop here. That looks like the best square. Don't know what else to do. I am behind on the clock now. Maybe queen f6 next. Point out this weakness. And also some idea of f4. I mean, I have the bishop pair. So if I can get an f4 and like open stuff up, that seems advantageous. I'm not sure if I actually can play f4 after queen f6. I mean, he does ostensibly have too many pieces defending f4. But there could be some tactical idea. I guess he's unsure of what to do. Knight f4, you know, looked like what he was wanting. Knight f4, I was thinking queen g5. Just pin that knight. And then against h4, I would have bishop takes f4. I think. I'm ahead on the clock again. This guy likes to, you know, take his time too, it seems. You know, if this rook ever leaves, this bishop could even try to go after this pawn. That hadn't occurred to me. He's down under 2.5 minutes. I guess knight h4 could be a move for him now. Don't know really what it does. It could even walk into f4 or queen f6 f4. Probably just f4 right away. So I guess he can't do that. f3. Rook takes g3 needs to be calculated. Okay, having calculated it, I don't like it. Bishop g3. Also don't like it. I thought I just wouldn't react to this. Like, queen f6. I don't see the problem with queen f6. Oh, well, queen f6 now I can't recapture because I'm pinning myself. But I can take here. That's complicated. I sort of don't know what else to do, though, is the problem. I kind of don't have another candidate. Okay, we'll go with it. I'm not very convinced because this pin looks kind of annoying. Yeah, it's probably no good. Probably take, and then rook f3. I might even have to switch course and try to win on the queen side. Like win this pawn, go after that pawn, and try to promote. Okay. Right. Put the bishop here, I think. I guess I could have played bishop d7 first. I was sort of worried about some interference idea. I don't actually see what the idea could have been, but... I guess he's not in a hurry to take this. He can sort of do it whenever. This knight could come in here still. Yeah, I think definitely here. Could put the rook here, could try to push the pawn if he lets me do that. He could flag and make it easy for me. Dang, he didn't flag. He wants the knight here. Oh, it's so close to this. So close. Yes, yes. Maybe, I don't know. It's legal. The knight's too good, I think. I think things have definitely gone wrong. I mean, I am down a pawn. Queen here threatens rook f7. Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Not having fun. Yeah, I guess I just lose. You could also take this. Dang, brutal. Brutal stuff. Can't go rook here because checkmate's good. Okay, I mean, you know, I'm lost, but I can struggle on. He should get his king up. Oh, he's gonna go after that? I was thinking about this. Could also go here. Let's go after that one. I guess we better get behind that guy. This is my counterplay. He could try to pitch this pawn. My king has to stay on the second rank now, because I can't let him check and promote. He's taking some risk here, though. He might go... No, because I check and promote. That was a bad move. Why didn't I take the pawn? That was stupid. Pretty stupid to not take the pawn. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'm not stupid. Like, I am, but maybe I'm not. He's gonna have to... He might have to give the rook for my pawn, too. Opposite color bishop ending, I have some hope. I would maybe even go so far as to say, like, if I can play here, it's very likely a draw. I think maybe his only try is to play e5, yeah. I assume that I take that. He might push. I play king e7. He could flag. I still haven't given up, you know. Just because he didn't do it earlier, he doesn't mean he shouldn't do it now. This could very well end up being a draw. I can't let the king get here. So as much as I really don't want to go passive, I might have to. So the plan is he's going to come over here. As soon as he gets away from my pawn, I play e4 and try to trade these pawns. Then all I have to do is sack my bishop for the rook pawn. Or he could flag and I could win. That's also fine. Okay, obviously I should never win that game. I think it was... I think this is a draw if black defends well. But I don't know. I could definitely be wrong about that. I mean, I'm trying to think of how else white could try to win. Like, that was the plan I saw. Was he tries to get his king over to escort this pawn to get to h6. But then I think I can start running my pawn. Like, if these pawns get traded and I still have a bishop, then it's a draw because I'm always going to be able to sack my bishop for this pawn. So I think I'm drawing in the final position. I mean, it's pretty miraculous that I drew. Like, first off, like, I should just take the pawn. But what I did actually, like, sort of works too. I mean, I guess what I did works. I think this is just a draw. Like, I don't see any other way for him to try to win except for e5, because basically what I want to do is I want to just sit my bishop here. And then, you know, he's never going to be able to break the blockade on the dark squares, I don't think. I think I'm just going to be able to, you know, like I can park my king on h8, for example, and move my bishop. You know, I think I'm always going to be able to have some, maybe I move my bishop on this diagonal. I think I'm always going to be able to have a tempo to lose. So anyway, let's see if I'm right about anything. Is this already a draw? Yeah, I mean, so the computer is giving plus 0.2, plus 0.3. It is giving e5. I would venture to say if the computer is giving only 0.3, that probably it's a draw. We're not quite in table-based land here. This is 8 pieces, right? Yeah. So we need to get to 7. But yeah, so actually, I mean, we'll know from here. Like, is d takes e5 a draw or not? Yeah, it says it's a draw. So I'm looking at the table base, and it just says this is a draw. This is already solved. Yeah, and we're still drawing. King e7's the only draw. That's not surprising. We have to stop the pawn. And bishop d2, bishop f4, and bishop h6 are all draws. So you have to keep the bishop on this diagonal, which makes sense. You want the bishop. I mean, the bishop is going to be responsible for stopping the h-pawn and even sacrificing if you know, these have been traded. So yeah, I mean, I think in these kind of endgames, it's good to sort of delegate, like, okay, the king is stopping this pawn, the bishop is stopping this pawn, and just kind of have a plan, like, which piece is responsible for which pawn. So yeah, the bishop has to be on this diagonal in order to stop the pawn, is basically the story. Okay, and then yeah, so it's funny, the computer gives plus 1.1, Stockfish does, but then the table base says draw, so Stockfish just doesn't get it. You know. Okay, now it even says e4. Like, e4 was one of my first thoughts. I thought he could just take with the king, and I didn't like that. Like, if he takes with the bishop after e4, then I'm happy, because I'm ecstatic to trade these pawns. I can't lose, because I'll always trade this bishop for this pawn and draw from insufficient material. I have no idea why I would give away the pawn, though. That's just a Stockfish move. Yeah. Oh, this is actually, I'm actually lost now. I did give away the win. This is table base says I'm winning. King e6. So in the final position, he's actually winning. King e6 or king c6 both win. So what's the winning plan? What's the winning plan? And what moves do I have to play to draw? e4, which I'm never ever playing. And yeah, I don't want to give up this pawn. Because here's what I'm worried about. Like, even though I said this bishop has the responsibility of stopping the h-pawn, and my king's going to stop the d-pawn, like, if I give up the pawn, and then his king runs around over here, and he's able to get this pawn going, I can't sack for the pawn yet. Because if I do that, then, you know, he's still going to win. The bishop and pawn, I mean, he's gonna get me in zugzwang. He's gonna force me to move off of d8. So e4, I really don't get. And yeah, for the same reason, it's saying this move draws, this move draws, this move draws, and this move draws. I don't like any of those moves because they all give up the pawn. So the only drawing move that I actually like is here. And yeah, then if he goes here, I kind of just have to go back. Yeah, it says now bishop f4 and bishop h4 are the only draws. I suspect the idea must be to come to bishop f6. Is that the point of bishop h4? Oh yeah, I forgot I'm still giving up the pawn here. So I mean, I would play bishop f4 because I'm holding this and I'm stopping this. But yeah, if the king comes here, I have to play king. I have to play king d8, I think. No, I have to play bishop g5. Okay, so this endgame was much more complicated than I gave it credit for. Oh! Oh, okay, I understand it now. I was never, at any point in the game, during the game or after the game, was I ever thinking the phrase wrong color rook pawn. But that's what white has. So wrong color rook pawn means he has a bishop and a rook pawn, but the promotion square is the wrong color of the bishop. So that means I draw. I can sack my bishop. All I have to do is sack my bishop for this pawn and I draw immediately. There's no way he can ever win. Because, well, okay, with one caveat. As long as I can get my king to the corner. then even if I give up my bishop and pawn for this pawn, it's just a drawn position. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Okay, I never thought about that for 1 second. I gotta remember that drawing resource. I think if I had thought about that, then I would probably find some of these ideas. Like, I just need to get my bishop on this diagonal to sack for this pawn. There's nothing he can do to stop me. He doesn't have any dark square pieces, so yeah, I just get my bishop prepared to sack on d8. So I had the wrong idea. Everything I said earlier, don't pay attention to that. That was being stupid. The king should go here. Like, ultimately, the king should go to h8, and the bishop should prepare to sacrifice on d8. I'm so stupid. So I had no understanding of the endgame, but it was drawing anyway. Then I played a losing move, and he lost on time, so I win. That's chess for you. So yeah, now he can... I do want to see the win, though. So king e6. My plan was to just yeah, but how do I chill? I guess that's the problem. Is how do I chill? I probably would have played bishop g3. And then it says h5. Yeah, okay, because I'm threatening the pawn. I go here. Yeah, now he can chill. And then I can't chill. I'm either giving up this square or that square. Or this square. And they're all bad. Okay. So the reason, I mean, yeah. I mean, it doesn't even matter that I understand how white wins from here. I need to understand that my only goal in the position is to sack this bishop for this pawn. That's the only thing to think about. Everything else is just overly complicating things. So sack the bishop for the pawn, get the king over here, draw. And that should have been easy to accomplish, but, you know, I'm dumb, I guess. All right, let's look from the beginning, though. So it started as an English, and then it transposed into a King's Indian. So I was familiar with up to about here. I wasn't sure after bishop e3. Okay, I am supposed to play knight g4. Okay. So I thought he would play bishop g5. That's true. And f6 is just fine. So this is reminding me of the Gligorich system of the King's Indian, which I like to play with white, where this sort of thing happens. Oh, in the Gligorich you play g5 with black. Apparently this is the Stein defense. And most common is h5 or knight h6. I like this h5 move. I don't like really get it, but I like it. I just like the space that black has. All right, I probably won't remember that, but I'll try. Knight c5 is not like bad. Taking is bad. That's not too shocking. It says he actually should take here and allow this little trick. I didn't think he'd want... Oh, he gets c5 at the end. Okay, I didn't see that he gets c5 at the end. But, I mean, it seems like black's bishop pair is definite compensation. The position's opened up a lot, you know. So down a pawn, but bishop pair with a wide open center. I mean, I guess I can even take here. It's not suggesting that I do so, but I could. I guess if I take there, rook b1, he's going to win back b7. So I am just going to be down a pawn. Okay, I didn't see all that. Queen d2 it doesn't like. Knight e8 was the best move. What about knight h5? That was my other idea. It's not impressed. I guess g3 does kind of just kill the knight in some respects. I was thinking maybe if g3, like bishop h3, but, you know, my pieces aren't really coordinated. They're getting close to the white king, but they're not really well coordinated. He could just move the rook and play bishop f8, bishop f1. He wants to trade these bishops anyway, probably. Okay, so I made the right call. And it wants f5 right away. Yeah, I didn't seriously consider that, I don't think. Knight d6 is fine. Taking either way is fine. It still wants f5. I was afraid of knight g5. So why should I not be afraid of knight g5? Oh, I just pin it. And he's in trouble. Because I'm going to play f4 probably too. Oh no, it just takes this pawn. Yeah, because it's pinned. Yeah, so black's killing it. Okay. I didn't see bishop h6. Okay, so I was a little bit too timid here, but it still likes my position. And now when I hemmed and hawed about, I usually want to take with the bishop, but the computer always says take with the pawn. Now the computer says take with the bishop. But, I mean, this isn't bad. I didn't hate the position I got. I got a lot of initiative. e4 was correct. And once queen g5, I just thought I didn't want to give up my attacking possibilities. Although, admittedly, I guess I shouldn't fear the endgame. I have the bishop pair. I have the, you know, this pawn looks sort of nice. I guess I would be a favorite in the endgame. But I didn't, play King's Indian to go into an endgame. Okay, now it just says white has the advantage again. I thought I was being clever. King h1 makes a lot of sense. That's what he did. I was really hoping for this. That would have been a fun tactic. Discovered check. Also conveniently blocking this. Not that it matters a whole lot. Oh, I guess, yeah, okay, I saw queen g5 was legal, but I forgot, like, I can't take with the rook because this is still hanging and my bishop's still hanging. So I guess am I taking with the pawn, I guess? Oh, but I get g takes h4 check at the end. Yeah, and f4, yeah, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? That looks pretty good. Am I up I'm up a pawn in this line? But yeah, this looks great. f4, f3, and f4 if he plays f3, I'll play e3. Okay, I believe everything. But yeah, he's not gonna blunder. It doesn't like, yeah, this move does make a lot of sense. Queen b6 I never really considered. I guess I also just never really gave enough weight to just trying to go into an endgame with the two bishops. And then this is a blunder. Yeah, and I sort of said, like, I don't really know what else to do. And I found the right plan for white. I just, like, yeah, I don't know. I guess I should just chill rather than make a move that I know is bad. Like, what if I just play, like, bishop d7? White's still winning, but... So the big error was actually here. f3 was a good move. And it wants me to play queen b6? I guess queen b4 is the idea? Well, I mean, we are just putting pressure on b2. That's fair. Now rook a6. I'm never playing rook a6. Queen f6. Queen g5. Yeah, I think maybe that was the big miss, was that I never really thought about, like, hey, if we get an endgame, I have the two bishops, it's probably a good endgame for me. But yeah, that's also pretty bad. Okay, so he did the thing where he was winning, the thing I was scared of. Knight h4 was a good move that I hadn't really considered. And then I blundered. I'm going to turn this off for a second so I can figure out where I blundered. So it says king. Okay, so I mean, I'm losing anyway, but king h8 is a blunder. I don't know if I really should even, try to find a better move here, because obviously the situation's pretty dire. I mean, my only other option is to move my queen somewhere. But then rook f7 check. Bishop is coming in. I don't know. I'm not worried about. I mean, this is just dead. I'm incredibly lucky to have survived this. What does it want? Bishop e5. Okay. So it says bishop e5, white is +2. And everything else white is like +7, +8. So it's giving bishop e5, queen f1. Yeah, I mean, now this is threatened for real. And now it says king g8. Yeah, I mean, I admit I don't know what the immediate win is for white. Okay, fine. Yeah, and I guess he just never saw d6 was hanging. He started doing all this other stuff. I guess that's the bigger point of bishop e5. Like, I'm pretty dead if he takes d6, because then he's got connected past pawns and he's checkmating me. If he's just checkmating me, that's no problem, but checkmating me and 2 connected past pawns, a little much. So yeah, I moved around a lot. He did take a pawn, but the wrong pawn. And I mean, I'm still dead lost here. I'm not here to debate that. But now there is like there is a path to a draw from here, which is if we can get some opposite color bishop in game, which is what happened. So I fought back, and then there's another moment where the computer says I'm lost. So we got to see that. I played this phase pretty okay. It wants me to get my king up instead. I didn't want his king entering the game. I mean, how cruel is chess? Like, he's up 2 pawns, and like the computer's effectively saying this is probably a draw. Like, if he's up 2 pawns and it's only giving a half pawn advantage, it's probably a draw. I mean, now it's just giving zeros. Okay, I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, I know I should take the pawn. Like, I can even believe this position is a draw. Like this, I mean, I'm gonna be able to cover h8 pretty easily, it seems. So yeah, this looks like an easy draw. Well, okay, that might be a stretch. Like, I'm not saying I would draw this against Stockfish, but yeah, I mean, I should be looking to trade pawns at every opportunity. This was really stupid. He has to find e5 or rook c7 check and then e5. Wow, e5. E5 is a hard move to play. But I mean, I guess if you realize that the sequence that happens in the game doesn't win, so then you look for alternatives and you might find e5. Because I mean, again, this is like one of those things where like a lot of times in chess, mixing up the move order gets you to the right answer. Like, he played e5 here. E5 is like the only try. So I'm not saying I understand the move e5, but like if e5 is the only try at the end of this line, then e5 deserves analysis first. I mean, I guess the idea is, you know, black's task simplifies a bit once the rooks get traded, because white just has fewer pieces that can create multiple threats, right? So e5 is creating another passer while the rooks are still on the board. That's my interpretation. e5, it also stops the pawn, because if I play c2, I mean, well, he can just take it, but even if the rook like weren't behind the pawn, he could take it, and he can take it with the bishop. I can't recapture because then he's queening. So okay, so lucky for me, he didn't find. I mean, e5 is a tough move, and also lucky for me, this is just a draw. And even luckier for me, he flagged when he finally had a win. So okay, you know, hey, I'll take it, I guess. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you do enjoy the channel. I'm trying to grow this channel, so I really appreciate any support. All right, well, I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.